I'm going to take your picture.
Why?
Because we need to put shit on our Instagram.
True.
All right. Do we have an Instagram for
Fraidy?
Cat?
Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yes, you do, because I tag you in it.
I didn't know that was Instagram, though. I thought it was Facebook.
We have both.
Okay.
Look to like afraid. Welcome to the Fraidy Cat Podcast. This is Kelly McFarland.
I'm Carolyn Plummer.
And we're back with all the things that are making you afraid. We haven't seen each other in a while because we had a few in the can, as they say.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, I think they say that. Let's ask the producers. Sarah, Patrick.
In the
Do
can?
you say in the can? Yeah. Sure. They're very young. They don't.
That's from when they had actual film that they put in a can.
They're like, I guess that's a saying. I don't know. But we're back and we're very excited and we're no guests.
No
this
guests
week.
today.
No, we don't need it today.
Not today.
I mean, we love having a guest. We've had some great guests.
If anybody wants to be a guest, reach out.
You should reach out. We would love it. If you have a scary story or things that make you feel afraid, or if you're just like, hey, you should talk about this. Because we like to research with reckless abandon and no facts. And then we report on it here on the Fraidy Cat Podcast. You're welcome. We have had some adventures, though, over the summer. And one of them was we went to visit the Lizzie Borden House.
Yep.
That's it?
No,
Yep.
well, we should give some background on Lizzie Borden in case
We will.
live under a rock and you've never heard of her.
I like you. You love to report, so go ahead.
Okay, so Lizzie Borden was accused of killing her stepmother and her father back in the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
Early
We're already
19
doing it.
What? So she...
August 4th, 1892.
See, I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 days before my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I was not born in the 1800s.
Happy birthday to you.
So she was...
Whack, whack.
So it was Victorian times, and it was in Fall River, and she was accused of killing her father and her stepmother, and that's where the rhyme came from. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks.
When she'd seen what she had done.
She gave her father 41.
Not accurate.
Not accurate. We found that out.
And also, did you know people other places don't know that rhyme?
Well, yeah. Like people in California have their own rhymes about like Charles Manson and the
Charles Manson. I mean, I don't know what that.
New England has a lot of murders and a lot of ghosts and a lot of like demons and stuff like that. And I think
old.
it's because it's old.
It's old here.
Yeah.
I
Just
mean,
like I
whole-
think Jamestown, where the first settlement was, is probably also very haunted because that's even older than New England.
Fair. Go on.
Okay.
Okay.
So she was accused of that. She went to trial. It was during the Victorian period, so everybody was very proper and whatnot. And she got acquitted. And it's kind of fascinating that they could never prove that she did it. I think with DNA now, they'd automatically know who did it.
Yeah, they don't have any of
with
the
all the
evidence
blood,
left.
but they don't have any evidence left. And it was never confirmed, and she was acquitted, and she lived out her days in Fall River.
There's a lot of speculation, too, because she had a sister, Emma, an older sister. Lizzie's mom passed away when she was very, very young, and then her father married this new person.
And they didn't like her.
And they didn't like her. And there's conflicting reports on whether or not they both didn't like her, or if Emma just didn't like her, or if Lizzie liked her, then followed what her big sister was doing. It's all very conflicting because I think in that time, everything stayed within the house. Everything was in closed doors.
People didn't talk
That's
about
right.
things in public. But her father was also really wealthy, but he was a miser and he didn't spend any of his money. So they still had an outhouse when they could have had plumbing indoors. And they had oil lamps when they could have had electricity at one point.
And this was a sticking point with the girls, with Emma
Right.
and Lizzie, because they knew that there was they were a better off family or well-to-do family, and they couldn't live with these like conveniences that everyone else was living with. So, yeah, she.
I'd be mad about the indoor plumbing, to be honest.
Well,
Because it gets cold here, and I would not want to go outside.
It
They had
wasn't-
chamber pots, too, though,
Yeah.
which is even grosser.
It wasn't an outhouse though; it was a privy in the basement.
Yeah, but that's like pooping outside. I mean, that's...
Yeah, you just didn't have to leave the house. You could just go downstairs to your basement, drop a deuce.
I think all of that stuff is better in a private area where you can just flush it away.
Well, that's fair.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
I would be mad about that. Would probably be the sticking point with me. Plus, they wanted to be part of high society, but because he made them live so frugally and like didn't heat the house and stuff, they were resentful.
They did have a maid or a house person, an Irish immigrant, and during this time, Irish people were very looked down upon. Something that America is very good at doing. We just like to look down.
We like to pick a group.
Yep, we're like, nope, bad group. Her name was Bridget, and they called her Maggie. Now, this was interesting because when I took a deep dive on Lizzie Borden, I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube, which is just like banana pants, and I spent way too much time going to video. And some people said that the girls called her Maggie, which was a term of endearment.
They liked her.
Yes. And so Maggie is a term of endearment for a housekeeper or for an Irish immigrant or both?
I have no idea, Kelly.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I think they liked her because she was nice, and a lot of people in their life wasn't.
Right.
They weren't nice.
Yeah, the father and the stepmother were not nice people.
I don't think the stepmother wasn't nice. I just don't think she wanted to have anything to do with them. I think Andrew was a dick.
Now, I have to tell you.
What?
Something.
What?
And I don't know how you're going to feel about it. I know you've probably seen it. I watched The Tale of Lizzie Borden, the TV movie, starring Elizabeth Montgomery.
From Bewitched fame.
I sure did. Yeah, from Bewitched. I found it on Prime, Amazon Prime. This show had so many people from that like 70s time period television that my husband came home and said, "Why are you watching Little House on the Prairie?"
Who was in it? Was Pa in it?
No, Michael Landon was not in it. Pa from Little House on the Prairie, Michael Landon. No. There were a bunch of familiar faces, but it was so bad. It was so bad. And also not scary.
No, I mean, you could only be so scary. Was it a made-for-television movie?
Yes, and there were flashbacks where she was kissing her father.
Well, that was the other thing.
Yes.
The other thing, the rumor is that Andrew was diddling his daughters.
I love that 80s band, Diddling Daughters.
But
So
that was one of the things that was brought up as a motive.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that wasn't talked about.
Right.
I mean, it's not really talked about now either, but I'm
yeah,
just saying.
It's not really
like,
afternoon convo, but yeah, and there was also a scene in the TV movie where she had a flashback when she was in court, which she also was drugged.
Oh yeah, they drugged her.
So let's take a step back. So
we're going to talk about all that. We just wanted to give them a gist of what happened.
Fair enough. We're going to unpack the murders for them?
Yeah, let's unpack
Let's do it. Let's talk about it. So we went to see the house. I think we should start with our adventure to Fall River, Massachusetts.
Yep.
Fall River.
We went to tour the house.
Yep, we were going to do the house tour. We had a very interesting group in our tour. We stopped to get a coffee next door to the house at this coffee shop.
That had just opened.
It had just opened to the point where they didn't even look like they had really unpacked yet.
They hadn't.
And it was called... I
don't think it's on here.
I don't even remember what it was called. It was like Lizzie Borden Coffee or something like that. And you go in and we ordered coffees and we thought it was such a kitschy, cool idea because it's in the house that's right next door. Come to find out two things. They're not happy about it at the Lizzie Borden house because they think that they're just like using the Lizzie Borden name. And
it's called Miss Lizzie's Coffee.
Miss Lizzie's Coffee.
Axe for another cup.
Oh, funny. And when we got our coffees and went over to the Lizzie Borden house, we checked in, and what used to be the barn is now
the gift shop.
The gift shop. So
and they have indoor plumbing in there for everyone to use.
They sure do. And we went over there and they were talking about it, and they don't like they're not affiliated in any way. And then Carolyn found an article about it that the ghosts are not happy.
That's what it says. It says the ghosts are not happy. Two Fall River businesses clashed over use of Lizzie Borden name.
I mean,
my thing is, Yes, it's the Lizzie Borden House. The coffee shop is literally the next building over.
Yeah.
And the people there were very nice.
They were. It was
we,
a family.
We had a nice cup of coffee.
Sure.
And they opened on the anniversary of the Borden murders because we were there.
Yeah, August 4th.
And they have Lizzie Borden themed coffee shop with bloody axes and other nods to the slayings, like a Liz Espresso, which is on the menu. And they bill it as the most haunted coffee shop in the world.
Well, and that's an interesting thing because I didn't know this, but the building next door, so Borden is a very popular or common name in this area. So the people that lived next door to Lizzie Borden House, the original house,
They were
also
related.
named Borden. I thought they weren't related.
Oh, yeah, maybe not.
They weren't related. Also named Borden. The woman there drowned her children in a bathtub.
I thought it was a well, but either way.
Well, bathtub, well.
There was water involved.
There was water. She drowned those kids. She drowned her
And
kids.
there's rumors that they haunt the Lizzie Borden house because it was next door.
I didn't buy that, but okay.
Well, let's talk about the tour.
Okay, let's.
So we had the coffee at the controversial coffee shop. It was delicious. We went to the gift shop to wait for our tour to start. We both peed and used the restroom. I don't know. That's not really relative to the story. But we were hanging around. There were other people that were in our tour. And we ended up in a tour with a family.
Yes.
There's a little girl. And every time our tour guide would say something, she'd take pictures of all the things he pointed out, which was actually pretty funny.
The mom was saying that she's obsessed with Lizzie Borden.
The girl?
Yeah, the little girl.
Oh.
That's why. So at one point you come in so we walk around the front of the house. Yeah, she's obsessed.
That makes it creepier.
She's obsessed with Lizzie Borden. I was listening to
She was like 12. She wasn't like a teenager
No.
yet. She was like 10 or 12.
She was
I'm not great with
hanging on
ages.
every word. So the first thing that I want to point out is we came around the front of the house and you walk through the front doors and you immediately see the staircase in front of you, and then you go to the left into the parlor. As soon as we got into the parlor, I immediately did not feel well. I felt like I was going to pass out. I felt like I was going to throw up. I had to step out into the hallway. And I wasn't the only one that happened to. There was another woman who also came out and was like, I don't feel good. And I was like, I don't feel good either.
I felt fine. It was hot in there, though.
Yeah, it was very hot.
But I felt fine.
So that initial part, there was a lot of talking. The guide was great, though, I will
He was
say.
very animated, but he was great.
He was great.
He was a little dramatic.
Yeah. Carolyn just did hands.
Because he was dramatic.
He gestured a lot.
Yeah.
I liked him.
And he made funny jokes,
He did.
which were kind of off color, which I liked.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
He explained to us that a lot of people think that the murder of her father took place in that room. But that's not the case at all.
Nope.
It's in the lounging area.
Yeah, because the parlor is different. It's like
It's
a
where you
small,
entertain.
Yeah, and then we went into like a bigger room where there was a couch, and Andrew, the father, liked to take naps during the day.
So on the day of the murder, they wake up in the morning, the entire Borden family. They wake up in the morning and they're going to have breakfast. Well, there was a mutton stew that
Had turned.
I paused because I just had food poisoning. Carolyn knows this. I just had food poisoning like 3 days ago. And all of a sudden I was thinking about the mutton and I was like, mutton.
Because he was so cheap, he made them eat it,
Yeah.
even though it was past when they should be eating
And
it.
Bridget was like, but it's gone bad, so we shouldn't be eating the mutton. And they were like, I'm not going to eat your whatever. And so they ate the mutton, except for Lizzie.
Yeah.
And Emma was actually away randomly. These two girls never left the house. Do you need us to pause? Okay. She never left the house, and Emma was on a trip.
Yep.
She was away visiting a relative or something for 2 weeks.
Her aunt or something.
Her aunt, yeah. And that's very, very odd. So both Mr. and Mrs. Borden ate this mutton, and Bridget also was not feeling well.
Right. So they thought maybe it was poisoning at one point, but now they think it was just because the mutton was bad.
Mutton had turned. And so they have breakfast. No one's feeling great. And Mrs. Borden, the stepmother, sends Bridget out, tells her she has to wash all the windows in the house on the inside and the outside. So it was an extremely hot day. She goes outside. She's going to clean all the windows. Now, just Lizzie is in the house with her stepmother because her father got some sort of note, according to Lizzie, and had to leave the house to go attend to some business. So while Bridget is outside cleaning the windows, Lizzie supposedly went upstairs to the guest room where her stepmother was changing the beds and killed her stepmother, then proceeded to come back downstairs. And at that time, her father arrives home, and the front door had been locked. And so Bridget testified that Lizzie was at the top of the stairs giggling. And if she was standing at the top of the stairs, and now that we've seen the house, we know this to be true, she would have been able to see through the spindles of the staircase into the bedroom to see that her stepmother had been slain. Bridget at the time just dismissed it, thought she was laughing at her because she was having a hard time getting the door unlocked. Lets her father in. Lizzie comes down the stairs, says to her father, "Why don't you take a nap? Do you want to take a nap before dinner?" He says that would be lovely. They danced a little. No, I don't know if that's true. I'm just assuming because they had an inappropriate relationship. Supposedly. And then he proceeds to nap on the couch where Bridget's back outside. Lizzie takes an axe and kills her father.
Yeah, and it was more than 41. It was a bunch of them.
Well, no, I think actually it was less than that.
Oh, but her mother's brother was visiting, the uncle.
So that's the interesting part that I really want to unpack with you, that I hadn't really considered that until we went on the tour.
Yeah, I knew he was there, but I didn't know he was so shady.
So that was the basis of the thing. Lizzie goes to the back door, yells for Bridget, says father has been killed. Bridget comes in, sees that Mr. Borden is on the couch. He's got, I think it was 10 or 11. It was hard to determine based on his skull how many whacks, but it was 10 or 11.
Half of his face was gone.
Half of his face, and his eyeball was split in half.
Yeah.
So she obviously is very distressed. She says, "Go find a doctor." I don't know what they thought a doctor was going to do. They go to find the doctor, and then the neighbor comes over. There's commotion. People start entering the house. At this time, now they've determined that someone has obviously killed him, and they start giving Lizzie morphine to calm her down because she is distressed. And once they gave her morphine, now she has no reaction whatsoever. They said, "Where is Mrs. Borden?" And at that time, they said, well, maybe she's upstairs. So they send Bridget, poor Bridget, and the neighbor to go upstairs to see if the mother is there. And they find her dead upstairs with, I think, 14 whacks.
Something like
to the head. Yeah.
And they covered her up.
Yeah.
For modesty. So they ruined the crime scene.
Yeah, that's true. That was also something I didn't know.
Because the picture,
yeah,
she's covered up.
Yes.
Because her dress was sort of
in disarray.
Her bloomers was showing.
Her ankles were out. They also, if you take a deep dive on this, you'll see that they talk about how they were confused about his boots. But what we learned on the tour is that Mr. Borden had his boots on. And he was a man that would never have taken a nap with his boots on. But they dressed his feet before any photos were taken. So it had nothing to do with anything. It just was.
Because there were some conflicting reports that Lizzie said she took his shoes off, put on his slippers. But then in the pictures, he was wearing his boots. But that was for modesty, again, because of the times, the Victorian times.
Right.
They wouldn't do that now.
No. They'd be wearing like.
Well, they wouldn't mess with the crime scene.
Right. Yeah. There is no modesty in a crime scene. They take the dead bodies, they put them on the dining room table, and they cover them with sheets and wait for the autopsy. And that's where they were for 3 days in the house.
Just on the table.
On the table in their dining room, covered in sheets. While Emma returns from her trip and finds Lizzie, and the two of them are sleeping in the house with these dead bodies downstairs.
Yeah.
There were lots of cops. The Fall River Police Department They were obviously at the house to make sure that the girls were still safe. And also now they're under suspicion. Lizzie is under suspicion. Now,
Yep.
let's talk about the theories.
Well, the uncle.
Yes.
So our tour guide is convinced that the uncle did it because he found out that Andrew was diddling the girls, and he was mad about it. Plus, he had a whole financial thing with the dad. But he was visiting, and he said he went out at a certain time and took a cab ride and talked to the minister, and none of these people could confirm his story.
He also arrived for a visit with no luggage.
Right. That was weird, too. And he normally didn't stay there because he had another place where
Sure.
he used to stay.
So it's very possible that the uncle did, in fact, have something to do with it. Lizzie, there's a theory that Lizzie didn't have any blood on her, and when the doctor arrived, said that Mr. Borden had only been dead for about 30 minutes at that time, and she didn't have any blood on her. So one of the theories is that Lizzie took all of her clothes off and killed them in the nude.
That's one theory. The other theory is she had had a dress made in a size bigger, and she was wearing it over her regular dress. So she just took it off and burnt it in the basement.
Yep.
Because there were some things that were burned in the stove in the kitchen. And there were also like a note. Remember there was a note? And then the other theory is that she wore this dress. She had blood all over her. She burned the dress and got rid of the evidence.
Yeah. There was a dress that was burned following the murders, and the neighbor saw Lizzie burn the dress and in the stove in the kitchen, and she testified that she saw her burn the dress. But then the dressmaker who made this dress for Lizzie also testified and said, yes, I made that dress for her, and that same day they were painting and varnishing the banisters in the home, and Lizzie brushed up against it, ruining the brand new dress. So supposedly that dress she burned is the same dress that was ruined.
We'll never know.
But we'll never know. I think it's interesting because I do think the uncle could have done it. I do think that, I don't know, there's part of me that feels like they were all in cahoots.
Yeah, that was the other theory, that they had planned this out, and all three of them. Emma was going to be away, so she wouldn't be a suspect. They all had a part in this murder of these two people, and that they just planned it and had, I don't know exactly what they planned, but it could very well be the uncle, though.
Yes, I agree.
But we need to know the motive with the uncle.
Yeah.
Part of it is the land dispute that they were having, because he was supposed to pass some land to her brother.
Yes.
And the other thing is, we don't know if it's true that there was some, family loving going on, for lack of a better term.
Some incestuous.
Yes.
Yes. I think that the brother is a viable option. I just wonder, what did he stand to gain from them being
He
dead?
may have just been pissed, because he was also a butcher. So that's the other thing they said. He would know how to chop up a body. Because remember, he was a butcher.
That's true.
But
they did find an axe in the basement that had the handle had been recently broken off, but it has been since determined that that was not the axe that killed Mr. and Mrs. Borden. There is I saw this video on YouTube. There's a local person here in Massachusetts who, she does investigative stuff, and she did a whole thing where she went and spent the night at the Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah, because it's a bed and breakfast now.
Yeah. We should probably tell you that I am not going to be sleeping there.
I checked out the beds on the tour, and I was like, seeing if they were comfortable. But I wouldn't want to stay there because, number one, the beds don't look comfortable at all. Number two, they do tours in there all day.
Yeah.
So you have to get up early and vacate. Like, you can't just relax.
Who wants to sleep there?
I don't want to sleep there anyway, but it sounds like you're on a schedule and you have to get out of Dodge really early, so I wouldn't want to do that either.
You can pay the extra $5 and go see the basement. So we did. We went down to the basement. It is creepy. I mean, it's creepy. All of it's creepy. It's a creepy house. It's old.
It's not very big, though. I didn't feel like creeped out, though, like you did. Like, you didn't feel well. I felt fine. I just was I guess I wasn't that impressed, but I was more impressed than I was with Hammond Castle. But
because I remember back to Hammond Castle,
because our tour guide was really good, and he was
very animated.
He drew you in, and he was funny, and he was a really good tour guide. But I just didn't feel it didn't feel that creepy to me.
Well,
I've been in creepier places and that wasn't one of them.
I didn't think it was super creepy. I thought it was an interesting. It was interesting to see the layout of the house because in my mind, it was bigger, and she had way more space to move around. So I'm confused how Lizzie would have been able to
go unnoticed,
and also kill her stepmother upstairs, and Bridget is outside doing the windows.
Yeah, but they had that back staircase.
Right. Wouldn't she have heard her scream, though?
Not if she's at the front of the house and she used the back staircase.
Who, Bridget?
No, Lizzie.
No, I'm saying when Bridget's outside cleaning the windows.
Yeah.
And Lizzie's upstairs putting a hatchet to her stepmother.
Yeah, but it looks like she got hit from behind, so she may not have known it was coming, and she could have died pretty much instantly and not made that much noise.
That's true.
And her father was asleep, so, he didn't wake up to scream.
Right. The other interesting piece of this is that Bridget, after the trial was over, Lizzie is found not guilty. She gets to move on with her life.
She buys a big house in Fall River called Maplecroft.
Stays right in Fall River, doesn't leave, digs her heels in. She has parties. She's
she goes to church.
Yep, goes to church, teaches Sunday school. Mm-hmm. Her the maid though, Bridget, moved to the Midwest
and bought a ranch.
Which is kind of odd because where'd she get that money to buy a ranch? So
that was suspect.
I wonder if they paid her off and had her leave. We record our podcast in the heart of Boston at Faneuil Hall. I think
we just got a standing ovation.
We just got a standing ovation. I don't know what's going on out there. It's just fun because we're trying to be serious, which is hard enough. And then every once in a while there's banging music or sirens. It's like watching a golden retriever try to knit a sweater. For me personally. Carolyn seems hyper-focused and great.
No, I was just reading about some
see
people
what I'm saying? She's great, guys. She's fine.
She was acquitted at trial, but some people still think that she is the prime suspect. Writer Victoria Lincoln proposed in 1967 that she may have committed murders while in a fugue state, which means that she was...
Yeah, what's fugue state?
Fugue state is when you don't know what you're doing because you have a mental break.
Oh.
Another prominent suggestion was that she was physically and sexually abused by her father, which drove her to kill him.
I have to know what's going on outside. We can cut this out, right? I have to. I'm so sorry, you guys. I have to know. I'll be right back.
This is funny.
Because it did just...
Honestly, it wasn't that bad until that.
It did get louder, right?
Yeah, that.
Is there a flash mob?
That's what it sounds like.
I kind of need to know. Oh my God. All right, we're back. I do feel like we need to explain what just happened. So we took a brief second. You don't notice at home, but we left the room. All of us. We have two producers, Sarah and Patrick, Kelly and Carolyn. All four of us got up and had to leave the room because suddenly the song, y'all ready for this? Circa 1992 Spring Break Cancun Senior Frogs just channeled itself into Faneuil Hall right outside our studios. And we went outside. It's a run club with guys wearing speakers on their backs, in backpacks.
Dumb.
Dumb.
I need attention. They're running in a big group too.
I mean, I guess it's fine. I was hoping it was a flash mob.
I was hoping it was something better than that.
It was just people working out.
I know.
Why the menace? Why?
That's like when we saw the people doing yoga in the middle of the...
Oh, yeah. We were in an intersection and people were doing yoga and it's rush hour.
Did you hear that someone called the police because they thought there'd been a mass shooting and it was people doing yoga and they were meditating?
No.
Yeah.
Where was that?
I don't remember. It was on the internet.
Oh my
Someone
God.
called because they thought that they had been murdered.
And they thought they were like laying down.
Yeah, they're like, there's been a mass
passed?
shooting and they were meditating.
Oh
in
my
a field
God.
somewhere.
No, I had not heard
Way
that.
to go, Karen.
All right.
This is a normal something.
I'm calling someone now.
I'm gonna make a stern phone call.
Oh.
All right, so let's get back to Lizzie
Let's
Borden.
get back to Lizzie Borden.
She was
everyone.
acquitted. She lived out her days in Fall River till she turned 66, and she had her gallbladder out. And she got pneumonia, and she died.
Yeah.
And her sister had nephritis, which is kidney disease, and she died in New Hampshire in a nursing home.
Oh. Yeah, they were estranged at the end.
Yeah, they weren't friends anymore. But Lizzie lived to be 66.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, especially since she may have murdered her parents and gotten away with it.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't
That's
stop.
a long life for her.
Ain't nothing gonna break her stride.
And they wanted to make her house that she lived in a museum, but they've since denied that.
Yes.
But the house itself is interesting because there was a family that lived there after her, and they had a monkey for a pet.
Why?
I don't know. Their kid had a monkey, and the monkey used to escape, and there's like a whole thing about that. So the house itself is
What
still,
year?
like after Lizzie Borden, so after 1927. I don't know if they were circus people and they kept the monkey or.
You're making a lot
I
of
am not
assumptions.
making it up.
No, I don't think you're making it up, but you're like, maybe they were circus people.
Well, why else would they have a monkey?
Some people get monkeys.
True.
Big cats, monkeys, macabre, parrots.
Macaws, not macabres.
Did I put a B on the end? Macaw.
Those are death parrots.
Macaw. Barbara. So a few people have gone though, and they've stayed overnight. We are not going to do that.
I don't. The beds aren't comfortable.
That cannot be the only reason that you don't want to do that.
And you have to get up early, and everybody touches that bedspread when they're going through there. It's gross.
You're pulling Kelly McFarland.
No. How many people go through that house in a day?
No, I don't want to stay there either. I didn't even
Plus
want to use their
people-
bathroom.
One thing that I learned that I didn't know is there was change everywhere, like pennies,
Oh, yeah.
pennies, dimes, nickels, like these piles of change. And some people think that if you pay the ghosts, that they won't follow you home.
You
So
like leave them
people-
a token.
So people leave change.
And if you take the change, then the ghost will follow you home until you return it.
And a lot of people do that. They'll return stuff that they took
Yeah.
out of the house. They
It's
tell
not
you
good.
not to take stuff. We didn't take anything out of the house.
No, we didn't take any. We barely touched anything.
I touched the beds.
Clearly, 'cause you just wanted to see if they were.
I was sort of just testing them out.
No, I don't want to do that. I didn't even want to touch anything. And I know it's all like, it was all like replica stuff, but I don't want to.
Yeah, a lot of the original furniture is gone, and they had to go to yard sales and stuff to like try to.
One of the weirdest parts to me was they took us upstairs to the attic, and that's where Bridget's quarters were, the servant quarters.
They were shitty.
And they were awful. Her room was awful, it was small, and also it was so hot up there.
No air conditioning for her, or heat in the winter.
No heat, no air, no ventilation. And on top of all of that, Andrew had a door made, Mr. Borden, a heavy door, and the original door is still in the house because I did ask that question. I said, is this the original door? They made a heavy wooden door that slams down
Flat.
on top of the staircase. So if you're walking upstairs and there's a landing, like to an attic, this door would fit flush so that it would keep the heat contained and not go into the house. So this poor girl was basically up there
Cooking.
So no wonder
freezing
she was
in the
angry.
winter. So if she did get a payout, it was worth it.
Yes. They also had made several other rooms up in this attic, and this is where they lost me a little bit. Were there 3 more rooms
Two
that
rooms.
you could
There
stay
was
in?
a guest room.
2 more guest rooms.
Yes.
There was Bridget's room and 2 guest rooms.
Yeah.
And the guest rooms had toys in them because they wanted us to believe that the dead children from next door's ghosts like to come over and play with those toys.
And that could be true.
Come on now.
They're just visiting.
Why would they come over and play with
Because
the
they don't like coffee.
Oh.
The coffee shop.
I don't know why I felt like that was justifiable, what you just said.
No, but ghosts aren't really. If there's 2 hauntings,
Yeah.
right next to each other. They can go back and forth. They're going to go where they think that they're going to get attention.
That goes against, though, some of the things that you have taught me about hauntings, where, so these ghosts are like, I'm going next door because they've got good dolls over there. Like, I thought if most ghosts, they stay in the dwelling.
Depends on the haunting.
Oh.
Because if it's a residual haunt, then they just keep going through the motions of the same thing that they did. And a lot of times that's on like battleships.
Okay.
They're still doing their job because they died so suddenly that they don't know they're dead. They just keep going through the motions. An intelligent haunt is one that can interact with people, that can move from one place to the other.
Okay.
If they want to.
So
if they have enough energy to do that.
Okay. So,
but it was they're literally, Kelly, it's like maybe 5 feet.
Yeah, it is
those
pretty.
buildings.
Yeah, because back then, I mean, everything, there were no
They're right on
vehicles,
top of each
so
other.
there was, they didn't need these big driveways. There was this woman that I found on the YouTubes, and she, on the YouTubes,
on the interwebs.
she stayed overnight there, and she does EVPs and research and whatnot, and she had an EVP of Mr. Borden, and he said it was Uncle John.
And our tour guide thought it was Uncle John.
Yeah, he did think it was the uncle. The uncle, and just to remind you, the uncle, Uncle John, is Lizzie and Emma's mother's brother. The one
their
that
real
died,
mother.
her biological mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes.
Because he was there, he stayed there the night before the murders, and then he had that weird alibi that didn't make sense the next day.
I don't think I ever want to stay. I think that visit for me was enough.
You don't want to go to the S.K. Pierce house?
Wait.
That's another haunted house, and it's in, Gardner, Mass.
No, I just meant I'm good with the Lizzie Borden
Oh,
house.
yeah. I thought it was going to be creepier than it was. I've been in creepier places that aren't.
Yeah, we were like hanging out in the kitchen for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, this just looks like a kitchen.
Well, because it's a bed and breakfast, so they had to put in modern stuff to make the breakfast.
Yeah.
Because they had a replica stove, so it didn't really look like it used to look.
Dead and breakfast. Yeah.
Some people go there to get engaged. That's weird.
That is weird.
And then he said there was a Ouija board in the basement that someone was doing one night.
Yes. What was the weird thing that you saw in the basement?
Oh, so where the
leading question, by the way, listeners.
There's like a hole in the wall with brick behind it, and didn't he say that's where the privy was?
Yes.
So it's the shitter basically. And he said if you take a picture, something will appear. And I took a picture, and you can vaguely see the outline of a face, but he kind of pushed you into seeing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really there. He told me to turn my flash off. Like that was going to make a difference.
It was the first time that I wasn't, like, I think I didn't feel well when we first got there just because it was hot.
It was hot.
And also it was a rainy day, so it was very moist. And the house doesn't have great ventilation.
No, and they do have air conditioning now, and they have toilets that work.
But it just was stuffy, and they put 20 of us in like a small room. Yeah. So, yeah, I wasn't totally creeped out either. I did not like the attic just because I didn't.
Well, the ceilings are slanted, and
yes.
And I was next to a lady who was having trouble breathing.
Yes.
So all you heard was, and I was like, "Is that a ghost?" I'm like, "No, that's."
And then
the
a
lady.
child who was obsessed.
She took pictures. He'd say, "This is Uncle John," and that's his picture. And she'd walk over and take his picture. And then this is where the skulls were. She walked over to the skulls, which are replicas, and she took pictures.
Oh yeah,
it was
they
hilarious.
had replicas of the skulls, which was weird to see because they were in the exact room where the bodies laid for 3 days. I mean,
they made a lot of mistakes though, like when they were talking about the investigation, because
I didn't know who you were talking about. Oh. They meaning
the police.
I thought you meant the Lizzie Borden House, like people.
No.
The tour guides. I was like,
were
what?
Fine. He was his dark jokes were actually pretty funny.
He had little suspenders on. Didn't he?
No. He had a belt on. He didn't have suspenders on.
Was it flashy though? The belt?
It was a little flashy, and his shirt was very tucked in.
Yes, that's what it was.
His pants were a little high.
His shirt was so tucked in.
Yeah, he didn't.
That I thought he had suspenders.
No, he had a belt. He had his pants pretty tight
and little glasses.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. I was like,
and I was wearing my Shirley not everyone was kung fu fighting
Yes.
t-shirts, so we bonded at the beginning.
Yes.
So we talked about inappropriate cartoons from the 70s,
Oh boy.
like Hong Kong.
All right, go
Phooey.
on to the mistakes. Sorry.
Oh, so they made a lot of mistakes because of the times and modesty and things like that.
Yes.
Like covering up the stepmother, they ruined the crime scene. And they did the autopsy like 3 days later. They boiled the flesh off the skulls, but then didn't come to any conclusion.
Right.
And they didn't have DNA or anything like that back then. They basically only had fingerprints, and I don't even think they got that right.
Yeah. The fact that they boiled.
And they also drugged her before they questioned her.
Right.
With morphine.
At
no
one
less.
point, she was in.
She was like,
she was in the trial, and they had been giving her morphine straight through, even when she was in jail.
Yeah, for like a week or
Yeah,
something.
and then they asked the doctor on the stand, well, when did you stop giving her the morphine? And the doctor was like, I haven't.
Yeah.
So she was still drugged.
So she wasn't really a reliable witness.
No,
at
and
that
I think
point.
that was part of the problem in the case was that there has to be reasonable doubt, and there it is.
Yeah.
We did leave there. We were going to go back to the gift shop, but we found that the gift shop is just, there's a Lizzie Borden board game you can buy. It's Clue.
It's
in the
Clue.
spirit of Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
And by in the spirit of, I mean inspired by.
There's axes.
You can buy a rubber axe.
They have coffee.
They had shirts, but none that were like.
One was the Lizzie Borden Finishing School, which was pretty
that's
funny.
pretty funny.
But it was
actually.
pink. I'm not a huge fan. And it was V-neck.
What was the other thing they had that we were like, oh, what an interesting.
They had magnets.
Yeah.
And then they had like dolls.
Oh yeah, dolls.
That creepy doll.
Yeah, which was weird because that had nothing to do with
No.
Lizzie Borden. Just was a creepy
It
doll.
was just crap.
Yeah, crap.
All things craptastic.
And then we left there because we like to go have a nice lunch.
Well, we went at lunchtime, so we hadn't had lunch yet.
And we went to
The Tipsy Toboggan, which does not seem like something that would be in Fall River.
not at all, not even a little bit.
A fishing community.
The Tipsy Toboggan, the cutest place I've ever been to.
But it was like
in Fall River.
It was like alpine themed, like you were in like the White
adorable.
Mountains with antler lighting and skis everywhere, and it was really, really good.
It was so good, and it was so cute.
Yeah, just didn't seem to fit because it was on the water. Too.
Yeah.
It was down by the wharf.
We were like, oh, the Tipsy Toboggan.
You'd think it would be like the
I
nautical.
don't even remember what we ate.
We had buffalo chicken dip.
Oh, we did have buffalo. Oh, because it was buffalo.
It was buffalo chicken dip.
Oh my
week.
gosh,
It was
so-
Buffalo Week. Or
It was
something.
Buffalo Week, and
She had a T-shirt on with all the buffaloes.
I have never been to a like a chain restaurant. Sure, they're like, and it's Buffalo Madness, Buffalo mac and cheese, Buffalo pizza, Buffalo burgers. That's the 99 does that
Right.
or whatever. But this was like a local place
They have like two restaurants. One's like a homestead restaurant, and then they have this one.
it was good.
But it wasn't a chain. It was really good.
It was fun. We had a good time at the Tipsy Toboggan.
And it rained
It did rain.
because I was on vacation, and that's what happens.
Tipsy Toboggan.
And then that's the other thing. For the girls that were in our tour group also went to the Tipsy Toboggan.
Oh yeah, we saw them there.
And
Yeah,
they also got the buffalo chicken dip.
because it was Buffalo Mania.
It was so good. It came in a
was good.
sourdough bowl.
That was excessive. I don't like things that come in a sourdough bowl.
What do you
Soup.
What do you don't like bread?
No, I love bread. It's just too much. So it was like a big sourdough bowl.
Tons
like,
of chips.
Like you would buy if you're going to like a party and you hollow it out and put it like a spinach dip in there.
I've done that.
I know. That used to be your thing that you brought to every
The
party.
old school spinach dip.
Carolyn, that was always the thing you brought. I knew you were going to bring that. I'll bring spinach dip in a bowl.
Because I never get to make it. I'm not going to make it
know.
at home and eat it for 4 days.
What was the thing that I used to always make?
Buffalo chicken dip.
Yes, the days before buffalo chicken dip. Do you remember? Because you loved it.
No.
Pizza dip.
Oh, yeah. That's
Remember,
right.
I would make this pizza dip that I learned about 20 years ago.
I also used to do the cream cheese salsa
Yes.
cheese dip that you just bake in the oven and
Yes.
chips in it.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than like a 7-layer dip that's wet.
No.
No. 7-layer dip shouldn't be
Remember
wet.
the 7-layer salad?
One of the layers was mayonnaise, so yes, of course I remember
We
it.
went to a wedding
Yeah.
and outside, and we were eating this 7-layer salad, and we asked it what the 7 layers were, and they said lettuce, tomatoes, mayonnaise. I'm like, did you just say mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise is a whole layer?
It was a whole layer, and it grossed me out.
It did not gross me out, but I'm gross. I don't know what to tell you.
It's delicious, but it was they're
Yeah.
I'm like, is that a whole jar of
Because you don't
mayonnaise?
toss it. You just...
No, it was just layered.
You
and
don't
then
toss
take a
the
scoop
salad.
out.
You
So one of the
just
layers was
scoop it.
mayonnaise.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I just got this salad, this macaroni salad from Roach Brothers. This is very northeast now, everybody, Massachusetts. From Roachie's. And it was a prosciutto pea parmesan macaroni salad.
That
Or
sounds-
pasta salad.
I make an Italian pasta salad like that.
That was all that was in it, though.
Oh,
I was expecting more.
mine has vegetables.
No, this
and
was...
olives.
It literally was shells, peas, prosciutto, and Parmesan cheese.
So they threw the peas in there just as, we should
Yeah.
probably put a vegetable in here.
And I guess mayo?
Yep,
Yeah.
probably. Or Italian dressing and mayo.
Yes, that's probably what it is, because it did have a zing to it, a zip and a zing. I mean, I guess that's it for Lizzie Borden House. Do you have any other thoughts on her?
No, I mean, if you want to go see where it happened, it's not a bad tour. And the tour guide was really good.
I thought that he was
I
really
can't
good.
remember his name, but he made it really interesting.
Yes.
And made you think about other people other than Lizzie
Yes.
that could have done it. And it may have been a collaboration with the uncle and the sister and Lizzie to get rid of him, because he was kind of a real asshole, to be honest.
He was a prick. I feel like Lizzie, I don't know if Lizzie did it. I think she was glad it was done.
Yeah. I mean, they were pretty oppressed
But-
the way they were living,
Yeah.
and they didn't like it because they wanted to be part of high society,
Right.
and he wasn't letting them. And it's not like they worked. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they relied on him for money and stuff like that.
Well, you couldn't, I mean, think about it. Like, they weren't married
No,
and they were older for that time period.
they were considered spinsters.
Yeah, spinster old maids. So they were under
But she
his
was going to
care.
church with someone's husband. They brought that up too.
She seemed a little like, there's a great television series that got canceled because everything that
Everything's good.
everything
gets
that's
canceled.
good gets canceled. Starring Christina Ricci and Chloe
Sevigny.
And
Sevigny.
yeah, you can watch it. I think it's on Paramount Plus. I might be lying, so look that up yourselves because we don't like to fact check. We just want to tell you things. And it's all about Lizzie Borden. And that actually was really
That
good.
was
She
really
was
good.
great as Lizzie Borden. Here's how we gauge Carolyn now when we go on tours of things. Carolyn, did you tip this tour guide?
We did.
You sure did. If you remember back in episode 4, Carolyn will not tip the tour guide if she doesn't think he deserves it. He or she, they deserve it. And this one, you were like, yep, let's
He was
tip this.
informative. He was funny. He was engaging.
He had a
He
tiny
answered all the questions.
glasses and
he
a
had,
belt.
he had a mustache.
He did have a mustache.
And he was really good with the kids.
He was
I didn't
dynamic.
Yep. So
Yep.
he deserved a tip.
I love it.
Chris did not.
She even remembers his name. That stuck with her.
He
All
bitched
right.
the whole time.
Can you please tell me the name of the place that you want to go next time so I can write it
The
down?
S.K. Pierce House. in
Research
Gardner.
it so I can tell you no with reasons why.
It's a Victorian house. He was a
SK what?
Pierce, Pierce. They've had it on Ghost Hunters. He was a very successful merchant, and it's in Gardner, Massachusetts.
Where's Gardner, Mass? West?
Yes.
Like way
Like
west,
near
right?
Keene.
Oh,
That area.
that way.
Like Toy Town. Remember, you go in there and it's called Toy Town?
Toy Town. No.
You
Was
know,
I with you?
Winchington is Toy Town, and I used to do a bunch of shows out there. They have a sign, "Welcome to Toy Town."
No idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well that's where it is. We should go.
All right. Well, we'll check that out and then report back. More field trips coming. I am getting a little excited because it is almost October.
Yep.
And, a few more weeks. And we did say that we're going to go to Salem this year
Yes.
because we want to go to the house
You want to go to that house? Why don't we do a ghost tour?
fine.
There's also the Satanic Church.
Mm.
I don't want to go there.
Oh, I meant to tell you. So here in Boston, we have the ghost trolley tours.
Yep.
And I was out doing normal person stuff the other night and drove past the trolley tour. And they had a man who was giving the tour. He's dressed up like a full-on Walking Dead zombie guy.
Yeah,
and
I
he
would
was
totally
committed to the project.
Because they go around Boston and they point out where murderers used to live.
Yeah, so I think we should do that because I always I appreciate a character actor.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if nothing else, and then maybe we could film it and we'll put it up on our Fraidy Cat YouTube channel so you guys can see it. Would you like that? Would you like that, listener? I'm saying listener because I don't know how many there are of you. I'm assuming. I'd like to say more.
When this heat breaks and we can go out at night and
fall.
not sweat our boots
We're doing
off.
it in the fall. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not technically fall yet, but
No, when we get fall.
all right.
All right. Well, that's it for Lizzie Borden and our trip to the
I
Lizzie
would
Borden
recommend
House.
the tour if you haven't done it
I'd
yet.
recommend it. I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I would totally do
Yeah. Okay. Great. We'll see you next time on the Fraidy Cat podcast. I'm Kelly McFarland.
it. Carolyn.
Thanks.